The distress seal, the distress beacon, pierced through the void like a scream. In the dark, Captain Sarah Chun stood on the bridge of the Valiant, her fingers drumming against the tactical console. The message had been repeating for 3 hours now, cycling through 17 different languages, before ending with the universal mathematical sequence that meant only one thing: help us. Captain. The signal's coming from the Kevlar system, Lieutenant Marcus Webb reported, his dark eyes fixed on the holographic display floating before them. That's deep in contested space. The Zinthera Collective controls that sector. Sarah knew the Zinthera. Everyone in the Galactic Union did. A race of insectoid warriors who'd carved out an empire through brutal efficiency and overwhelming numbers. They didn't ask for help. They took what they needed. Play it again, Sarah ordered. The bridge speakers crackled to life. This time, the voice was young, feminine, and terrified. This is Research Station, Omega-7... Under attack? Unknown HOSTILE... They're not stopping. Please, anyone. We have civilians... children. The message dissolved into static and screams. Sarah's jaw tightened. The Valiant was a destroyer-class vessel, one of humanity's newest contributions to the Galactic Defense Fleet. Humanity, the species that had joined the Union only 40 years ago. The species from a death world so hostile that most aliens couldn't believe anything intelligent had evolved there. Earth, where gravity crushed, where predators hunted in packs, where storms could level cities, and where humanity had clawed its way to the top of the food chain through sheer stubbornness. Ma'am, regulations say we need to wait for backup, Webb said carefully. The nearest Union fleet is 6 hours out. 6 hours, Sarah repeated, her voice flat. She looked at the tactical display, at the red icon marking the station's location. Run the numbers, Marcus. How many people are on that station? Webb's fingers flew across his console. According to Union records, 237. Mostly Zinthera scientists and their families. Some Velkari traders. A handful of other species. And how many will be alive in 6 hours? Webb didn't answer. He didn't need to doubt. Sarah turned to her crew. 23 men and women who'd signed up to serve in the most dangerous fleet in known space. They all knew what was coming. She could see it in their eyes, that particular mixture of fear and determination that made humans simultaneously terrifying and inspiring to the rest of the galaxy. All hands to battle stations, Sarah announced, her voice carrying through every deck of the ship. Navigation, plot a jump course to Omega-7. Engineering, I want every reactor at maximum output. Weapons, load everything we've got. Captain, Webb started. I heard you the first time, Lieutenant. Sarah cut him off, not unkindly. But here's what you need to understand about humans. We're persistence hunters. We don't stop. We don't quit. And we sure as hell don't leave people to die when we can do something about it. The bridge crew moved with practiced efficiency. Humanity had brought something unique to the Galactic Union, not just advanced weapons or faster ships, but a philosophy forged in the crucible of a planet that tried to kill them every single day, never leave anyone behind. Jump in 30 seconds, navigation called out. Sarah strapped into her command chair, feeling the familiar weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. The Valiant began to hum, its experimental human-designed engines building power for the hyperspace jump. The rest of the galaxy used careful, calculated jumps that took time to plot and execute safely. Humans had looked at that system and asked, but what if we need to get there right now? Captain, incoming transmission from Union Command, communications reported. Admiral Vexmore is ordering us to stand down and wait for reinforcements. Sarah smiled grimly. Admiral Vexmore was Velkari, a species of cautious, methodical strategists who'd survived in the galaxy by never taking unnecessary risks. She respected him, but right now, she didn't care what he thought. "Tell the Admiral I'll write him a very apologetic report," Sarah said. "After we save those people." Jump in 5.4.3. The Valiant lurched, reality twisting around it as the ship tore a hole through spacetime. The journey that should have taken 3 days was compressed into 7 brutal minutes. Every crew member felt it, the nausea, the temporal distortion, the sensation of being pulled apart and reassembled. But they were humans. They'd survived worse on their homeworld before they'd even invented the wheel. The ship dropped out of hyperspace like a bullet fired from God's own pistol. And what Sarah saw on the viewscreen made her blood run cold. Research station hung in space like a broken toy. Atmosphere venting from dozens of hull breaches. And surrounding it, like sharks circling wounded prey, were ships unlike anything in Union records. Black vessels that seemed to absorb light itself, covered in angular armor and bristling with weapons. Sensor readings? Sarah demanded. Unknown configuration, Webb replied, his voice tight. But, Captain, they're firing on escape pods. Sarah's hands clenched on her armrests. Firing on escape pods. Killing unarmed civilians trying to flee. Weapons free, she said quietly. Show them what happens when you pick a fight with Earth's children. The Valiant roared forward, all weapons blazing, plunging into hell with the fury of humanity behind every shot. Humanity's Anastabliar, the first salvo from the Valiant, caught the enemy ships completely off guard. Human weapons were different. While the rest of the galaxy had refined elegant energy weapons that disabled ships with surgical precision, humanity had looked at the concept of space warfare and asked, why not just hit them really, really hard? Railguns magnetically accelerated projectiles, moving at a fraction of light speed, slammed into the nearest black vessel. The impact wasn't clean or pretty. The ship didn't power down gracefully. It simply exploded, metal and atmosphere erupting in a sphere of destruction that lit up the darkness. Target destroyed. Weapons Officer Rachel Park reported with grim satisfaction. 11 hostiles remaining. They're changing formation. Sarah watched as the unknown ships scattered, their earlier confidence evaporating. They'd been prepared to massacre defenseless researchers. They hadn't been prepared for a warship that fought like a cornered animal. Marcus, get me everything on those ships, Sarah ordered. I want to know what we're fighting. Webb worked furiously at his console. Scanning now. Hull composition is ... strange. It's absorbing our sensor beams. But I'm reading massive energy signatures. These things are armed, Captain. Each one's putting out firepower equivalent to a Union battlecruiser. Sarah did the math instantly. 12 ships 11 now, each matching a battlecruiser. The Valiant was outgunned at least 30-1. Any sane species would have jumped away. Humans had left sane behind somewhere around the invention of fireworks. Lieutenant Park, I want continuous fire. Don't give them time to think. Navigation, get us between them and that station. Engineering, already on it, Captain. Chief Engineer Tommy Okonkwo's voice crackled over the comm. You're getting everything she's got, and then some? Fair warning, we're pushing the reactors past recommended limits. How far past? Let's just say the Union Safety Board would have several heart attacks if they were here. Sarah allowed herself a tight smile. Noted. Keep us flying, Tommy. The Valiant dove into the enemy formation like a hawk among pigeons. The black ships were powerful. Yes, but they moved with the coordination of a fleet that had never faced real opposition. They were used to attacking the weak, the defenseless, the unprepared. They'd never fought a Deathworlder. Human reflexes, honed by millions of years of hunting and being hunted, made the difference. Where the enemy ships took seconds to acquire targets and fire, the Valiant's crew reacted in milliseconds. Sarah's orders, The crew's responses, they moved as one organism, functioning with the pack coordination that had made humans apex predators. 2 more black ships erupted in flames as railgun rounds punched through their armor. But the enemy was learning. They began focusing their fire, coordinating their attacks. The Valiant shuddered as energy weapons scored across its hull. "Shields at 60%, Webb called out. "Hull breach on deck 7. Compartment sealed. How many escape pods are still out there?" Sarah asked, asterisk. 17, Captain. They're sitting ducks. Sarah's mind raced. The Valiant couldn't take on 9 warships alone, not for long. But if they jumped away now, those escape pods would be destroyed within minutes. 237 lives. Scientists, traders, children. Navigation, new course. Bring us alongside the nearest pod cluster. Prepare the cargo bay for emergency retrieval. "Captain, that'll expose our port side," Webb warned. "We'll be vulnerable. Then we'd better move fast." Sarah switched to ship-wide comms. "All hands, brace for evasive maneuvers." Marine squad to the cargo bay were picking up survivors. The Valiant twisted through space in a maneuver that would have torn apart most vessels. Human engineering, built to withstand 12 times Earth's gravity, held firm. The ship's cargo bay doors opened, magnetic grapples reaching out to snag the tumbling escape pods. The enemy ships saw the opportunity, and pounced. Energy beams converged on the Valiant, hammering its shields. Alarms screamed across the bridge as systems began failing. "Shields at 20%. Fire spreading on deck 4. Reactor 2 is overheating." Sarah gripped her armrests, watching the tactical display. 3 pods secured? 4. 5. How many more? She demanded. 12 remaining pods in this cluster, Webb reported. "But Captain, we can't take much more. Then we better make it count. All weapons, focus on the nearest hostile. I want it gone." The Valiant roared its defiance. Every railgun, every missile, every weapon the ship possessed concentrated on a single target. The black vessel's shields flared, held for a moment, then collapsed. The ship broke apart in a cascade of explosions. 6 pods, 7, 8. Shields failing. "Keep going." Sarah ordered. 9, 10, 11. The enemy ships closed in, sensing the kill. Energy weapons tore into the Valiant's armor, melting through reinforced hull plating. But the ship kept moving, kept fighting, kept saving people. 12 pods. All secure. "Get us out of here. Emergency jump. Any direction." The Valiant lurched, its overtaxed engines screaming as they tore another hole in reality. The ship vanished just as enemy fire converged on where it had been docked in the cargo bay. As Marines helped terrified aliens from the escape pods, one young Zinthera child looked up at the human soldier who'd pulled her to safety. "Why?" She chittered in broken universal. "Why save us? We are not your people." The Marine, a veteran named Rodriguez, with scars from a dozen battles, knelt down to the child's level. His eyes, hard from years of war, softened just a fraction. "Kid," he said gently, "that's where you're wrong. Anyone who needs help is our people. That's the human way." The child didn't fully understand. But in the years to come, she would remember this moment, and she would tell others. The humans came. When no one else would, the humans came. Asterisk the Deathworld Siege Aldarian. Valiant dropped out of hyperspace in Union territory, its hull scorched and bleeding atmosphere from a dozen breaches. Emergency lights flickered across scarred corridors, where damage control teams worked frantically to patch holes and restart failing systems. On the bridge, Captain Sarah Chun allowed herself exactly 3 seconds to close her eyes and breathe. 3 seconds. Then she was back to work. Casualty report, she ordered. Lieutenant Webb scanned his displays, his face drawn with exhaustion. 16 crew injured, 3 critical. No fatalities. Engineering says we'll need major repairs, but we're spaceworthy. And the survivors? All 237 accounted for. Medicals got the injured stabilized. Sarah nodded, feeling a weight lift from her shoulders. They'd done it. Against ridiculous odds, against a superior force, they'd saved every single person. Captain, Admiral Vexmore is hailing us, communications reported. He sounds ... upset. Put him through. The holographic display shimmered, revealing the Admiral's reptilian face. His scales had flushed to an angry purple Velkari sign of extreme agitation. Captain Chun, you directly disobeyed my orders. You risked your ship, your crew, and potentially started a diplomatic incident by engaging unknown hostiles without authorization. I should have you court-martialed. Sarah met his gaze steadily. Yes, sir. You should. And I'd do it again. The Admiral sputtered. You ... what? Sir, with all due respect, there were children dying out there. I took an oath when I joined this fleet. To protect those who cannot protect themselves. To stand against tyranny and cruelty. To never abandon the innocent. Sarah's voice hardened. I didn't realize those oaths came with a time limit or required permission forms. For a long moment, silence filled the channel. Then, surprisingly, Admiral Vexmore's scales shifted to a calmer green. Your species confuses me, Captain, he said quietly. You've been part of the Union for barely 4 decades. You come from a world so hostile that my people require environmental suits just to survive on your surface. Your planet has tried to kill you in every way imaginable: predators, diseases, weather, geological instability. By all logic, you should be cautious, conservative, careful. And yet, Sarah prompted, and yet you charge into danger for strangers. You risk everything for people you've never met. You refuse to accept the calculating logic of acceptable losses. The Admiral's eyes, large and multifaceted, studied her intently. The Union has watched humanity for 40 years, trying to understand you. Today, I think I finally do, sir. Earth didn't make you careful, Captain. It made you fierce. Your world threw everything at you, and instead of becoming timid, you became stubborn. You learned that the only way to survive was to fight for yourselves, for your pack, for your family. And somewhere in your evolution, you decided that family meant anyone worth saving. Admiral Vexmore leaned forward. The Union has existed for 6,000 years. We've built it on diplomacy, careful strategy, and measured responses. We've survived by being reasonable. He paused. But perhaps we've become too reasonable. We've forgotten what it means to say, no more, and mean it with fire and fury. Sarah said nothing, sensing he wasn't finished. 3 hours ago, the Zinthera government contacted us. The survivors you rescued have been telling their story. About the humans who came when no one else would. About the ship that fought 12-to-1 odds to save them. About the Deathworlders who proved that honor and courage aren't just words. The Admiral's scales shifted to an approving blue. The Zinthera Collective is formally requesting that humanity lead the investigation into these unknown hostiles. They're calling you the First Fangs, those who strike before the pack. It's one of their highest honors. Sir, we were just doing our job, Sarah said. No, Captain. You are doing something far more important. You are showing the galaxy what humanity truly is. Admiral Vexmore straightened. As for the court-martial, I'm recommending you for the Star of Valor instead. The Union Council will want to debrief you personally. After the transmission ended, Sarah slumped in her chair. Around her, the bridge crew exchanged exhausted smiles. They'd made it. Against all odds, They'd made it. "Captain," Webb said quietly, "message coming in from the cargo bay. The survivors want to thank you personally." Sarah stood, her body protesting every movement. "Tell them I'll be down in 5 minutes. And Marcus, get some rest. We all earned it." In the cargo bay, 237 beings from a dozen different species waited nervously. They'd heard the stories about humans, about the Deathworld species that could survive almost anything. But stories and reality were different things. When Captain Shun walked in, they saw something that would change their understanding forever. She was small by most species standards, barely reaching the shoulder height of an average Zinthera. Her uniform was torn, her face smudged with soot, and she moved with the careful stiffness of someone nursing injuries. She looked nothing like a warrior from the stories, but her eyes held something that transcended physical strength. Determination, compassion, an absolute, unshakable will that said, "I will not let you down." The young Zinthera child from before broke from the crowd and ran to Sarah, chittering frantically. Sarah knelt down, a gesture of vulnerability that most species would never show, and listened as the child tried to express gratitude in broken universal. "You came," the child finally said simply. "When no one else came, you came." Sarah smiled, a genuine expression that transformed her exhausted face. "Of course we came. That's what humans do." Asterisk, an elderly Velkari trader, stepped forward, his voice trembling. "But why? We are strangers. You risked your lives, your ship. Many species would have calculated the odds and departed. It would have been ... logical." Sarah stood, addressing the entire group. "In human history, we have a saying, for evil to triumph, all that's needed is for good people to do nothing. We learned that lesson the hard way, over centuries of mistakes and regrets. We learned that courage isn't about being unafraid, it's about being terrified and doing what's right anyway." She gestured to the damaged bay around them. "This ship is called the Valiant. It means brave, courageous, strong. But it's not the ship that makes it worthy of that name. It's the people aboard, humans, Deathworlders, yes, but also dreamers who looked at the stars and refused to accept that we were alone, who joined the Galactic Union not to conquer, but to belong, to help, to stand beside anyone who needs us." A Zinthera scientist raised a claw hesitantly. "The news speaks of human military strength, of your weapons, your tactics, your willingness to fight. They say humans are the galaxy's warriors." "We are warriors," Sarah agreed. "But that's not all we are. We're also poets and painters and parents. We create art and music and stories. We laugh, we cry, we love with the same passion that we fight." She looked around at the diverse faces watching her. "Earth made us strong because it had to. But humanity made itself kind by choice. That's the difference." In the weeks that followed, the story of the Valiant spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The Union investigation discovered that the black ships belonged to the Kruv Tak, swarm a militant species from outside, known space who'd been raiding the border, sectors for resources. They'd been unopposed because no one wanted to risk the casualties. Until humanity showed up. The Galactic Council debated for 3 days before making an unprecedented decision. Humanity, the young, reckless, emotional species from the Deathworld called Earth, would be given command of a new rapid response fleet. When others were threatened, when evil needed to be stopped, when someone had to stand in the gap between the innocent and the darkness, they would call upon the Deathworlders. Captain Sarah Chon stood before the council as they made the announcement. Behind her, projected on massive screens, were the faces of the 237 survivors. Every species, every age, every background united by one simple truth. Humans had come when no one else would. Captain Shun, the council speaker, intoned, "The Union recognizes that humanity brings something unique to our alliance. Not just strength, but the will to use it in defense of others. Not just courage, but the compassion to risk everything for strangers. You have reminded us all what it means to stand against the darkness." Sarah saluted, her voice clear and proud. "Sir, humanity thanks the Council for this honor. But we need you to understand something. We didn't do this for recognition or medals. We did it because it was right. And we'll keep doing it, with or without permission, because that's who we are." A murmur ran through the council shock, approval, and perhaps a touch of fear. The speaker's expression softened. "That, Captain, is precisely why you're perfect for this role. The galaxy needs guardians who cannot be corrupted, cannot be deterred, and cannot be taught to calculate acceptable losses in terms of innocent lives." He raised his voice to address the entire assembly. "Let it be known throughout the Union. Humanity stands as our first fangs. When evil comes, they will answer with fire. When tyranny rises, they will meet it with fury. And when the innocent cry out in the darkness—" Sarah finished the sentence, her voice carrying the weight of her species' entire history. "We will come, always, across the galaxy." On thousands of worlds and stations, beings of every species heard those words and understood. The Deathworlders from Earth had shown them something they'd forgotten in 6,000 years of careful civilization. Sometimes, the only thing evil understands is someone willing to stand up and say, "No more." And if you're from a planet that spent millions of years trying to kill you, if you're from a species that survived by hunting, fighting, and refusing to quit, if you're human, then "no more" isn't just words. It's a promise written in fire. Asterisk.